Hola, muy buenas. Hello. Buongiorno, buonasera, buonanotte. I am here with my friend Federica Bocco. Is the friend time that Federica is in my channel. Federica, welcome here.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, I am a good friend of Federica Bocco. I think most of you know her. I think she's a referent of the European A Song of Ice and Fire community, the work created by George R. Martin. She has collaborated in Winter is Coming. She has done the best, I think, review of Cáceres ever done in Lonely Planet, promoting Cáceres City of Dragons too. She was, of course, a panelist in two panels in Cáceres City of Dragons last year. She was on the set of a month ago with me in the filming set of House of the Dragon in Cáceres. That was superb. So, well, first to introduce you, Federica, what's your story? It's totally improvised. How's your story with A Song of Ice and Fire? How did you discover this world? When did you read the books or watch the show? What's your story with this? To be honest, I don't know. I don't know this.
Thank you, Javi. I feel like that was so long ago when I was introduced into that world that it's kind of blurring. I don't even remember when I started reading the books. I know that it was after Game of Thrones had premiered, but I don't remember what season it was on. Then I started reading. Obviously, I mean, I saw the show and I was obsessed. Then I was like, okay, I need to read the books, and I did, and I was even more obsessed. And then, I started writing and reading fan fiction, and kind of interacting with the fandom on Twitter mostly, but then also Tumblr, and other social media. So yeah, I've had it's been now definitely over a decade that I've been a fan. So,
Wow.
It's been a long time. The memories are blurring, but it's been great. Except, like the last season of Game of Thrones. But we move on.
Yeah, and how did you start writing for Winter is Coming? That is a crazy website, the biggest website in English language, of course.
Yeah, that happened, I think, at this point 2 years ago. Honestly, it was crazy for me too that they wanted me to write for them. I don't know.
Were you writing before online about the show in other
I was writing for a bunch of websites, not as big as that, obviously. I was the editor-in-chief of an online magazine, and I was collaborating with other places, both in the US and in Italy and in the UK. And then at one point, I thought to myself, I mean, I love this world. There are people who are clearly writing about it. Why shouldn't I? So, and it ended up working well, thankfully. And then I started and I sort of never left.
But you have worked with very big website. I told about Lonely Planet, but also about Netflix Free, Cosmopolitan, that is crazily big. So because you are a journalist or just a journalist, or you just write because you like communication, you are an excellent communicator. When did you start writing online stuff?
I would say a little bit of both. I mean, obviously, writing is not my primary job. I also have a day job, as I call it. So I really just do it because I want to. I don't necessarily need to. And yeah, I just really love, I guess I have very strong feelings about lots of things, including this world of A Song of Ice and Fire. And I just feel like I need to express them publicly. Sorry, world. So yeah. Oh. And I write a little bit about everything, right? I do entertainment, so I cover all these shows and books and films. And then I also do travel. I'm doing a lot of travel writing lately and, lots of other things. Sometimes I do news, social justice.
Sure, a queen of all trades, I would say, no?
Look who's talking.
Yeah, no, I'm not at all. Well, I wanted to bring you to my channel. I have done since a few years ago a special Pride, especially in June in my channel, and since I think 5 years maybe in Los Reinos in the website. The first year it was just regular essays, and then I started doing recorded videos. And because I thought that the idea of recording a video maybe shows you more the experience or shows you more the character than just a written essay. There has been tons of essays about written essays, about analysis about A Song of Ice and Fire, gay characters, why there are no lesbians in Westeros, not pure lesbians, the very complex bisexuality that happens in Westeros. There is a lot of written stuff in Tumblr, in blogs, in online forums. about the characters on Westeros and why the LGTB are not so present, at least in the beginning of the story. But so there is a lot of academical even writing about this, and I didn't want to just to post the translation and say that was written 8 years ago about how there weren't many like gay or lesbian characters in Westeros. First of all, because I think that doing talking about this topic maybe open more feelings, and maybe it's more interesting to the audience to bring something new material. And second, because I think we got a jewel in Fire and Blood, and I think that Fire and Blood discovered that Westeros is a far more diverse country or region than we originally thought. Don't you think so?
Absolutely. I mean, I would say maybe the shows kind of did a bad job here because they really kind of, whitewashed the queer community in Westeros. I would say George, I mean, being a white man in his 70s and a product of his time, he did an amazing job showing diversity.
Absolutely.
Amazing. I mean, you wouldn't expect it from him, from a person like him. So Fire and Blood especially has lots and lots of sexual diversity, and I am so happy that it's so, and I hope the shows, don't keep erasing that. But we can go more in depth about everything in a bit. But yes, I think George did, a great job. And and it goes unseen most of the time. A lot of people don't notice it, don't care about it, but there's lots to be unpacked there.
I always say that. I say that every year, that the two most beautiful love quotes in the whole worlds are said by gay characters. One by Laura Tyrell, talking about when the sun is set, no candle can replace it. And the other one by John Connington, but he said that he wanted to start to reach a star and he fell. And
never reached and fell. Yes.
And they are, for me, the most beautiful love sentence in this world, and they are done by LGTB characters. So
yes,
I think that's a proof that Dutch of course is very invested in this thing. But before talking about the Fire and Blood and the characters, I want to ask you, of course, an LGTB person, and what are your views about was the representation? Maybe in Game of Thrones is not fair because it was premiered in 2011, and I think the world has advanced a lot in a better and a more progressive side. But talking about House of the Dragon, do you think that the LGTB representation was fine?
I mean, I don't think it was not fine, but I think they could have done a lot different and a lot better. And I want to dedicate a lot of time talking about Rhaenyra's sexuality. So, I want to get there slowly. And I do think that there's another character who is queer who was basically completely erased. I mean, obviously with Laenor, you have no choice, right? They have to show him as gay because that's kind of the point of his character. So with him, I think they did an amazing job with him. They sort of changed his traits a little bit. They made him, in the books, he is like a little more what you would expect a gay guy to be. So, he's not chivalrous. He's just there. He doesn't go to war. He likes, he likes more traditionally feminine things, right? He likes being in the castle and having a good time. In the show, they changed that. They completely turned that around. So they made him a knight. They made him a warrior. Actually, somebody who longs for war. Once he's sitting in a castle in King's Landing and then in Dragonstone, he actually, grows tired. He's not happy about it. He wants adventure. So that changed completely. And I don't think that that's necessarily good. The fact that they changed him, it would have been fine if he had been, a coward who doesn't like it. That would have been fine too.
I agree.
Yeah, I just think they made him a more likable character.
Yes.
Because obviously we are more drawn to liking, like brave knights and whatnot. So, and they definitely gave him a little more screen time as well, probably, and they presented him in a more conventionally attractive way, right? So that was good.
The thing with Laenor, I think I totally agree with what you said. I think it was, at least it was Ellie the first people I heard saying that they did with him exactly the same that they did with Renly, but in the countryside. Renly in the book is totally a nerd of combats, of fighting, of knighthood and tournaments, and he nobody expects him to be gay in that context, because he's Robert Baratheon in young, and Robert Baratheon, nobody thinks that Robert Baratheon is gay, but people, even Ned Stark confuses Renly with Robert the first time he saw him. He's the legitimate of Robert, but being younger and of course like fitter and younger, etc. And in the show they made him, he didn't want to like the tarnish, he didn't like the blood, he was like less masculine, to say that. And they did exactly the opposite as you said with Laenor. So it was like they did the transformation in Renly in Laenor. It was very, very interesting. But I agree with you. I think I agree that Laenor character in the show is a good character. Is a coherent character with what happens. But still, the thing about Laenor, this is not the topic of the video, but he's alive. For me, that was absolutely nuts. I wouldn't ever imagine that they would keep Laenor alive. Never in my fucking life. It was crazy that I think he will have to play a role in the second season.
Yes.
If not, from a narrative point of view, from as a writer, it's stupid to save a character and just to make him go into a boat and disappear from the story. That's stupid considering what's his original story in the book. So he has to do something, I guess.
Obviously, he's coming back. Yes, I mean, whether it's this season or maybe later on. I mean, I think
apparently he's in Wales. It's not confirmed. It's not confirmed, but they say some local media it's in Wales.
I read that. And it's very interesting. I think it might be good. Like, it might be a way to bring him back right after, like so soon. I think he might be, they can bring him back sort of as a wild card, like super later on, like after during the dance. Maybe I don't know. Maybe he saved. We're talking spoilers here, right?
Yeah.
Maybe maybe he saved the younger princess. Like
that's a very popular theory. I buy that.
Yeah, but there's a lot of stuff that they can do with him. I mean, virtually anything, right? Like once you leave him alive, everything is on the table.
They have the problem with the dragon. What are they going to do with sea smoke? That's a very huge topic. But I trust Ryan. I trust Sarah Hess. I trust George Martin, that has read all the scripts a lot of times. So I trust them to stop the dragon problem. I don't know how.
I mean, honestly, I was so happy that he didn't die. First of all, yay! I mean, we kind of defeated the bury your gays trope, right? And also, honestly, character-wise, I know it's not Bob Damon to kill him, right? To order his death, for sure. But it would be above Rhaenyra to allow that, because she and Laenor might not have had a romantic relationship, but they did love each other. They did have a wonderful partnership for over 10 years.
Yes. At least in the show. In the book, I think so, but maybe more in the show than in the books, maybe.
Right. I mean, and obviously we don't have a lot of grounds to judge that, but we know that they were happy, right? I mean, it was a marriage of convenience that definitely worked for both. And, they raised their children with love, their children. So, there's a lot of understanding there. So, cooperation. So there must have been respect and love, or it wouldn't have worked. The children wouldn't have grown up such beautiful, wholesome boys. But yeah, I'm so happy to see where that goes. So many theories that we could talk about. And sea smoke especially, that's such a wild card. But again, I mean, that's just going to be a reminder, right, that he's around, because people are going to try and claim sea smoke, or maybe, like Daemon and Rhaenyra can share a look here and there.
Yeah.
We'll see.
It will be very interesting. Well, after this very long excursus of 40 minutes of excursus, okay, we could start talking about this topic, that are LGTB characters in the Dance of the Dragons.
Yes.
And I would say that the first thing is that there are confirmed LGTB characters in Dance of the Dragons, like very clear, and not that are just suggested. But considering how George writes his story, I would say that a suggestion is a confirmation most of the time.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, in terms of no, go ahead.
No, go.
No, I wanted to say there are a lot of minor characters who are extremely gay, like confirmed gay or queer. And, because they are very marginal, a lot of people just forget about them. First, let me put on my gay flower crown, because that's important. like Lyanna has a flower crown, but that's the crown of roses. This is just gay. So, obviously, okay, we've talked about Laenor. He's the obvious one. He's the main one of sorts, right? But then there's a lot of characters who are kind of marginal, but also very important in the aftermath. Like after the dance, like in the aftermath when there's all those ladies that are super important, like Lady Sabitha Frey and Black Ali. So Alicent Blackwood, she's totally bisexual. Sabitha Frey is totally a lesbian. And then obviously before that we have Rhea Royce, who is totally a lesbian. Lady Jeyne Arryn, who is totally a lesbian. Like the text literally says that she prefers the intimate companionship of women, and it's Eustace saying it. It's not even Mushroom. So
we have that's for me interesting. The head of a house, the most important, the most powerful people in the Vale, that is one of the biggest kingdom in Westeros, is a lesbian, or at least bisexual, but she's a lesbian.
Oh no! Lady Jeyne Arryn is totally a lesbian because she would have married if not. I mean, and even for Sabitha Frey, I think at one point in Fire and Blood it says she would sooner ride than dance, wore mail instead of silk, and was fond of killing men and kissing women. And I love how George really shows that in Westeros, like there is no implicit prejudice, towards gay people. Like it's totally fine. And obviously, yes, there are people who are bigots, here, like in our world. But even the Grand Maester, he has no problem with people being gay. The Grand Maester goes, "Oh yeah, Laenor is gay. Who cares? That's great."
Apparently, what I have no studies in history, but what I have read is that is very similar to what happened in our world in the medieval times. Is that people can do whatever they want in their private life if they marry who they are supposed to marry, if they somehow have children. I don't know who are the parents of the children, but magically there are children there. I don't know. I don't care about what the people do in the intimacy. While they do their duty, they don't care about the rest, and they don't judge you because they are creating a family that is productive to the society because they are in the farm, or they are going to war, and this guy is a monk and he's an amazing monk. I don't care if this monk is kissing another monk in the backstage. I don't care because he's just doing a good job about monks. If the regular image is fulfilled and this people is doing his duty or her duty, it's fine. It's fine. Well, it's what I read. I'm not a
yes, no, absolutely.
It's more or less I think what happened in medieval times. Because of course there were LGBT characters, people in the medieval times. Of course, always have been. So they weren't erased from the society.
I mean, and that's the thing, right? The only institution that was, still is, condemning homosexuality is the Catholic Church, right? But it's not like in the Western, Western countries in the Middle Ages. It's not like the nations themselves had laws against that. It was Catholicism, but it was never a law of the land, right? I think the only one who actually had something like that was Great Britain, and that it's actually Henry VIII's fault, as for most things. And so then England brought that into the Commonwealth, and it all spiraled. But yes, totally right. So in the same way, in A Song of Ice and Fire, because it is such a faithful adaptation, right, of the customs and in history, in the Middle Ages especially, queerness really kind of sort of permeates the universe, and you truly do not know if a character is straight until proven, right? Which is incredible for a book that was written, by somebody like George.
Yeah.
And it's the unpredictability of it all, and the reality of the human condition is what I really, really love about, what I think sets apart A Song of Ice and Fire from so many other series. But yeah, that's sort of beyond the point. Sorry, we kind of
no. I love this discussion. I think that medieval ages are complex and interesting because it was a Christian Catholic society. I would say Christian because there was not the Protestant that, but those people went to church. People prayed to the gods. But if those people saw two guys kissing each other, they wouldn't like throw into the river or throwing rocks at them. I think that's they have. And I always say you cannot judge the past with the eyes of the present because it's totally unfair it's not logical. It's not logical to say, oh, these people was an ableist, these people was a sexist. It's 1,000 years ago. They didn't have internet. They didn't have a microwave. So you can simply imagine what is living his life or her life. It's not fair to judge the people from other societies from the past with our eyes after all the waves of feminism, after the democracy, about so many progressive advances we have in the last 200 years. It's not fair. It's not fair at all.
Exactly. You can't apply modern concepts to ages where those concepts didn't exist. And even the whole concept of bisexuality, obviously it's a term that we use now. It didn't really exist. It was totally different. But yes, absolutely. Okay.
Okay. Do you want to start talking about a specific character or one of you that is one of your favorites, or do you have something prepared for any of them, or tell me?
I not really, but I think we can start with the biggest character. I do want to talk about Rhaenyra.
Okay.
Lots of people are not going to agree, and I'm sorry. They, everybody can believe what they want, but the thing about Rhaenyra is that her story, ontologically is a story about gender, okay? Like, there's no other way to put it, okay? If she was born male, Dance of Dragons would not exist. Stop, it just wouldn't. So it is a story about gender, and it is also a story about sexuality, right? It's a story about who she sleeps with, why, when. So to limit that, to say that, to limit her sexuality to just be heterosexual is so limiting. We know it wasn't, it's in the book, but even if people don't want to believe the implications and they want it to be written, obviously, it's not going to be, you can't find that on the page. There's lots of implications and we can read into them. People can choose to ignore them. But again, the limiting, because her story is about gender and it is about sexuality, it would be so limiting to just, not see it as queer. And I do believe in the show, even if they erased a big part of that, they still wanted to keep, even platonically, a sort of homosexual relationship there, because in the show, I don't personally love what happened there, but there's no denying that the story of Rhaenyra and Alicent in the show is written and coded as queer. Obviously platonic.
Totally.
But it's written, it's coded as queer.
Absolutely. I always say that in Los Siete Reinos we have 2 reviews of the show. One done by a guy who is an expert in the books, and my friend Javi, who is the responsible of the Spanish Week of Ice and Fire, and a friend of mine that he's a writer, he's a journalist, and he doesn't know anything about the books. He hasn't read Fire and Blood or The World of Ice and Fire or anything. He just watches the show and writes them, telling what he says on the script without knowing anything about the background of the characters or anything. He did that with Game of Thrones, and he's doing the same with House of the Dragon. And in the first episode, he saw Rhaenyra and Alicent, and he's not would say a very ultra mega progressive guy that is always looking for the most clue that is LGTB. He's a regular guy, but I wouldn't say he's hyper progressive guy. And he says, he wrote, this is a crypto lesbian relationship. Crypto because it's hidden, but this and he said even the characters doesn't know that they love each other, because they cannot know in that society that you can love a woman. But from an audience that knows nothing about Fire and Blood, he shows that characters on screen as crypto lesbian.
Exactly. No, there you go. And I mean, that's such a funny term too. I love it. But because the writers of the show, they obviously, they're professionals, they know what they're doing, and they knew that dismissing that Rhaenyra's sexuality involves queerness would have just taken nuance away from her character. So they had to replicate that in some way, and they chose to do it with Alicent. They chose to build a tormented, agonizing, unconsummated relationship there between the two of them, instead of another different relationship, which I'm going to mention now, which would have been loving and wholesome, like it was in the book, which is with Laena Velaryon.
Yeah, totally. Is the image of this miniature of this video. Yeah.
Yes, I love that. I love that
single moment when they see each other, and I really miss that the show really put stuff in that.
Yes. Okay, I'm gonna start by saying I am obsessed with Laena. I'm obsessed and Rhaenyra. I'm obsessed with the two of them. I have literally written some fiction about the two of them.
I didn't know that when I did the miniature. I promise I didn't talk with Federica
know
about that.
I'll send you my fan fiction. I can send it if anybody wants it. No, it's not that good, but that's just to say that I am obsessed with them, and I wish the show had acknowledged them, you know, more than that single nod in that scene there. So let's go back, right? We know that Laena is, I think the Maester says that she is more fond. She's fonder of flying than boys when she's little.
Yes.
Well, when she's 12. So 12 is usually the time when Targaryen women reach maidenhood, when they first ride their dragons. So that's when they do become sexually active.
Yeah.
Always. For all Targaryen women in Fire and Blood, that's it. And at 12, she is more fond of flying than boys, meaning she's not really fond of boys. And then obviously, I mean, she does, you know, eventually she marries Daemon. So, you know, but the relationship there with Rhaenyra is very strong. So you have to imagine, I mean, by that time, when Laena and Daemon marry, then the book says that Rhaenyra grew fond and more than fond of her good sister. Yes, those are the words in the book.
It's a very, very strong sentence.
It's a very strong sentence. You know, George could have just written, she grew closer with her good sister. No, he wrote that she became fond and more than fond. So,
more than fond. For me, that's it's not hidden. It's totally lighting.
Exactly. And also, I mean, you have to imagine, right? These two ladies, basically, you know, throughout different periods of their lives, grew up together, right? And actually, I love that in the very first episode of the show, you see little Laena and little Laenor there next to Rhaenyra and Alicent,
yes.
and I hope.
Tournament, yes.
I hope that we would see more of that because they did grow up together. You know, they did go to lessons together, and you know, and I don't know, go around the city together and the castle and eat together every day. Obviously, the show had to kind of erase that to give space to Alicent. But if you just, you know, in the universe,
it's a logical choice that I approve, considering the pace of the show. You don't have 15 episodes per season.
Unfortunately. So, you know, you have to imagine these two grew up together. They do everything together. They are sort of, I mean, Rhaenyra obviously does not have sisters, which pains her. And Laena is kind of the closest thing that she has to a sister, which also, you know, in Targaryen terms, you know. So, at that point, you know, and we know that both of them are also sexually active with Daemon at the same time. And they love that, right? I mean, the book literally says that both of them visit Rhaenyra all the time, and the Rhaenyra visits them because they are on Driftmark and she's on Dragonstone. They just fly together. And it's very interesting because Syrax, Rhaenyra's dragon, she actually lays a clutch of eggs right at that time. And that, in A Song of Ice and Fire, famously, basically, dragons mirror the relationships that their riders are having, right? So Rhaenyra is off having sex with Laena and Daemon, possibly together, most likely together. You know, she is pregnant because she is pregnant at that time already. I mean, she's, you know, she's about to be in 120, right? That's the year. And then Syrax is also pregnant. I mean, you know, it just works so logically.
Totally. I have to say, I didn't see like Daemon being that maybe that character in the book that maybe he's able to share his wife. I wouldn't think about that in a first lecture of the character, but he's a mysterious character. In the show, they erase that scene where he's like flirting with a boy in that scene that was filmed in Spain in Castilla Calahorra in Pentos. Like he's flirting, and they like there was a line when Laena says something about Daemon and the boys and something like that. I don't know why they put that scene in the show. I frankly don't know that because but I have to say in Fire and Blood I didn't show Daemon as that kind of character that it's so open, just to say that. he's more like the traditional, very masculine male guy, very very jealous of his thing. But then there is more in with Daemon than what meets the eye. For example, I would never expected Daemon, the first Daemon, having that relationship with Nettles, for example. That he just, that for example, he just doesn't protect. I think that Daemon, I don't know if he had a sexual or a love relationship with Nettles. I don't know about that, but I'm sure that he was protecting her and instructing her and being like a bigger brother. For me, that sign of Daemon is not so visible or so evident in when the first time he's present as a character. So maybe what you say also makes sense for Daemon.
So I'm just gonna like super quickly gonna say for Nettles, I actually do think she's his daughter, one of his bastard's daughter. Like like that for me is canon. Like that's the thing I believe, and nobody can convince me otherwise. I have too much evidence. That's precisely why he's so protective of her and so fond of her. I think the book says he dotes on her, which I think I might be mistaken, but that's a verb that connotates a lot of like, very pure love.
Yes. That's why I think I'm more in the boat that he was protecting her than in the boat he's fucking her. That's my vote. That's my vote.
Exactly. So I do think she's his daughter, and I think he knows that. But apart from that, I mean, I just believe Targaryens are more fluid than the rest of the people, just because they're closer to gods and gods are gay. We can put that on a shirt. No, but again, I mean, what you said is great. There's more to Daemon that meets the eye, right? Like you would expect one thing, and then he always subverts expectations. That's what he does. And yeah, I mean, I also agree. He would not share his wife. He certainly would not share his wife with another man. But I mean, Rhaenyra, who they are both in love with.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, because Laena and Rhaenyra, like they have this such close relationship, and they love each other so fiercely. You have to imagine these two literally betrothed their children. Their children are like newborns. They are babes at the breast.
And the marriage between Daemon and Rhaenyra is so close, so soon after the death of Laenor and Laena, that they had to be very close to each other. Because if not, they would think they are disrespecting his wife or her wife. So those four should be very, very close to each other. And I agree with you said about Daemon is going to marry Rhaenyra a bit later. So why not like sharing her wife in that moment? Not sharing in that sense that you can do what you want. I don't want to make your head crazy with threesomes or stuff like that. I don't want to feed your fantasy. That you're free to do that, but maybe he can just do whatever you want. I am going to do with whatever I also want to. So.
Yeah. And I do bring another piece of compelling evidence to prove Rhaenyra and Laena's relationship. So you know how George is very in love with writing parallels, right? He writes lots of things that parallel each other all the time. And if we just go back in Fire and Blood by maybe 100 pages, we have the story of Rhaena, Queen Rhaena, right? So Rhaena, famously, obviously, I mean, bisexual queen or even lesbian queen who had to marry her brother and then was married to somebody else, unfortunately. But she finally, after having a very tormented life, finds love with Lady Alyssa Farman, right? And she too is married to her brother, so Andrew Farman, who I believe is gay. I actually had a conversation with a bunch
He's an incel. He's an incel.
I actually had a conversation, like for me, when I read Fire and Blood, first time, second time, third time, I was totally sure he was gay. And then I ended up talking about it randomly with somebody, just like mentioning it in conversation. And they were like, wait, he's gay? I didn't think he was gay. So actually that might have been my perception because, as a queer person, my brain looks for that. So we could, I don't know, there's pros for both sides. I don't know if he was gay, but if we allow, if we believe in that for 1 second, the parallelism is very clear. So Rhaena is like Rhaenyra, the princess. She marries a gay guy, but then is in love with his sister.
Yeah. And Rhaenyra, the name is very similar.
Exactly. And Rhaena, one of her favorite ladies after Alyssa leaves, her favorite lady is her cousin, Lyanna Velaryon. Come on.
Yeah. There is a very, very big parallel there. Totally.
Yes. And then, I mean, the whole dynamic there is also kind of similar. One goes first. So Alyssa, Laena go first. Obviously, Alyssa leaves and Laena, poor baby, dies. But,
maybe Elisa sounds a bit like Alicent.
Yes.
Also, the lover that discarded her.
Yes.
That's the more logical in the show than in the book, because in the book, of course, there is not a relationship between Alicent and Rhaenyra, but we can fit this.
Right.
Let's sail this ship as long as we want.
Yes.
I can hear you.
Oh, wait, you can't hear me? Okay.
Yes, now I can hear you, yes.
Okay, so Rhaena was clearly a lesbian, and that's confirmed. And then Laena is a second wife, and they have basically they have the same death. The cause of death is very different. Rhaena falls from her horse, and then she's in a coma for, I think, 6 days or something. Laena, obviously, she dies in childbirth, the poor thing. But they both have the same exact death. So basically, they're both in bed for a while, very unwell. Everybody thinks they're going to die. And then at one point, they get up, they start walking, and then they die.
Yes.
Just thought another parallel that makes them, even more the same. So just gonna throw it there. But since we did mention Elena's death, in the book, Rhaenyra is there by her side. She does not leave her side for I don't know how much time. I think it says it's a very long time. That Rhaenyra sits there with her by Lena's bed, and then when things go wrong, and when it's clear that the childbirth is not going well, Daemon is obviously also there, and Daemon and Rhaenyra talk, and they're like, okay, we should go get my maester, right? Gerardris. Yes. Super good. Who flies off?
Inspired by one executive producer of the show, Vince Gerardis.
Right. So who flies off to get Gerardris from Dragonstone? They're in Driftmark. Somebody has to fly a dragon. And it would make sense for Rhaenyra to go, since Dragonstone is her castle. He is her maester. No, she stays. She wants to stay by Lena's side the whole time. She holds her hand the whole time. And Daemon just ups and leaves, even if his wife is right there dying. He goes, gets the maester, comes back. Obviously, I mean, it's too late for poor Laena. It's not too late. She's still alive, but there's nothing that he can do. But yeah, Rhaenyra didn't want to leave her side, and she does not leave her side for I don't know how many hours after she's dead. After Lena's dead, Rhaenyra sits vigil next to her corpse. Those are the exact words that the book uses, and that is, you do that for your lover. You don't do that for your friend. You don't do that for your sister. Laenor was not even there.
No, they are more than BFF. They are more than BFF.
Yes.
No, I really agree, and I think that George put so many clues that it's for something, because that would be wasting your time, wasting a space of the book, and creating something that goes nowhere. And George is a too good writer to do something like that. I totally agree. So we talk about Rhaenyra, we talk about of course about Laena. We talk about Laenor in previously when we were talking about the show. I think we covered Laenor more of that. I would like to ask you, do you think that the show now maybe a bit missing LGTB characters without Laenor, without Laena? We have no points that Rhaenyra will be showing that kind of feelings to females in the show in the next seasons. Don't you think that the show will miss a lot of representation and diversity in the next season of the show, unless they make Alicent or other bisexual? That I think it would be pretty interesting. Do you think something like that?
That would be super cool to see. Maybe Adam. But I do think that there are other characters who are still alive, still in the show, who also are potentially queer, because the book says that Rhaenyra doesn't care when Daemon is, there with Mysaria. She says, "Oh no, I'm happy for Daemon to, be with her, whatever." But then after, it also contradicts it. The source contradicts itself and says that like Mysaria is like the Rhaenyra's closest confidant. She only trusts her. Why would you trust your husband's lover, like your husband's mistress? Because she's also her mistress. So there's a whole, because in the end it does show she does trust her to no end, right? Like in the very end, like she's one of the only few people Rhaenyra can trust.
We know that Mysaria is very progressive. When she's like the boss of the city, they have a puppet king, that more fake king, of course, is not in the Iron Throne, that is promoting all those like very, very, very progressive sentences, like to promote the small folk, to defend the prostitutes, to make all the people to have a food and etc. That's very progressive. So if she's very progressive, it makes sense that it's also queer in that world.
Yes, absolutely. So I think she's a big one. I think she's bound to have a bigger role in seasons to come. Maybe not necessarily right away in season 2, but as we move forward, I think her character is going to grow and grow, and in terms of screen time and storyline and arc. So I am excited to see that. I do hope they don't erase it. I hope they kind of lean into that. Learn from their mistakes.
Yeah, I have to say, I didn't like at all Mysaria in season 1 of the show. I think the script wasn't good. I think it didn't make a lot of sense most of the times he was saying or even doing. I still don't understand some of his scenes with Daemon. I still don't. I think they will like make her a big character in season 2, because I think she will be the key of Blood and Cheese. She has to be the key of creating Blood and Cheese. Maybe a miscommunication between her and Daemon will create Blood and Cheese. I think they will make Blood and Cheese less gory or less cruel than in the book. My personal theory is that Blood and Cheese will be a misunderstanding, that Daemon wasn't asking to kill a children, but just to kidnap a children. And there will be some problems in the scene, and maybe Mysaria will be considered responsible of that. Maybe when she's responsible, they are Blood and Cheese, they're responsible of that, especially Blood. But she will have that key role in the second season of the show. And after that, at the end of the season, with Rhaenyra again, with Rhaenyra plot, if she comes to King's Landing at the end of the season, it's something we still don't know. And she will be key again, of course, to help the Blacks to retake King's Landing when it happens. So she will be important. I don't know if they will have enough screen time for her to make her like more queer, but just a line, just something about we saw that in the brothels there were also queer people in the brothels. So yes.
Yes, exactly. No, I agree, and I'm just looking forward to see what they do, and I do hope that they make it innovative, and then they make the adaptation a little more sort of challenging, right? So like you said, kind of shifting the narrative and changing the way that the things are told, because at the end of the day, I mean, Fire and Blood, it's just a bunch of sources talking about things when they were
totally unreliable.
Exactly. So you can really make anything you want of it.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, I mean, there are other queers around. I mean, we could even see Laenor and Carl again. Just checking in with them.
Yeah.
We might see the ladies that are going to rule after, so Sabitha Frey and Ally Blackwood. Maybe not.
I think that we need to say at least Ally Blackwood here in the season, and Sabitha Frey maybe, but it's not sure. But there was some reports that they were trying to do the Burning Mill battle or the Stony Set battle, and Ally has to be there.
Yeah,
and she will be very important later in the Dance of the Dragons, and that would be a great moment to show Ally. Yeah.
Yes, to introduce another, super badass character, and just make her queer. I mean, she and Sabitha Frey are sleeping in the same tent. Just putting it there.
I have to say, in the beginning, I wasn't looking at Ali as a as a
Bisexual.
as a lesbian, but remembering Sabitha Frey, I really know that line. Ali shared her tent with Lady Sabitha Frey while on campaign. And
Yeah,
Sabitha was gay, so was lesbian. So
exactly.
2 + 2 = 4.
Yes. And then I mean the good way to transition here is Ali, she marries Cragen Stark, right?
Yeah.
I think there might be some fruitiness there too. I know not a lot of people are onto the same trail of thought I am here, but I do think that Cragen and Jace had a very deep connection there.
Wow,
I
you are
don't know
entering
if it
now
was
in
sexual.
fanfiction territory.
I don't know if it was sexual,
Huh?
but you know, they clearly bond a lot.
Mm.
They become very fast friends. Even if there's a little bit of an age difference there, but I mean, again, we know not to look at things from our own perspective, right? So age difference is a little perceived differently than it would be now. I don't know. I mean, you know, they grow so close, they connect, they like each other. The dragon lays eggs. That's a rumor, right? It's not confirmed, but the source does say, you know, I'm not sure if it's Mushroom who says that, and
I
you know,
don't know.
but
In
it's
any case,
there.
it's a story that is still told in A Song of Ice and Fire
Yes,
about the dragon
exactly.
putting eggs in
And
there in the Dance of the Dragons.
and at the end of the day, like it doesn't really matter if it's true, right? But if
Mm,
George wrote it, it
mm,
signifies something, right?
mm,
You know, regardless of whether the dragon actually laid eggs or not,
mm.
George wrote that, put that there for a reason, and we know what that means.
Yeah.
And I know that people are going to say, yeah, but it's because he was, you know, falling in love with Sarah Snow or whatever. I don't know.
To be honest, I have to say I agree more with that. To be honest.
With about Sarah.
Yeah.
Okay,
That
I
than with
don't.
Reagan. I have to say I always respect people love for fanfics, but I totally buy Addison as a queer character. To be honest, I don't buy Cregan as a queer character. Just my 2 cents.
I
But I
don't.
love that people theorize, and
Yeah.
I believe in death of the author. So
Yes.
feel free to imagine whatever you want.
Yes. Exactly. The you know, the books are out there. They're ours to do whatever we want with.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know if Sarah existed. That's the thing,
Mm.
right? I think Sarah is just kind of the representation of the heterosexuality there that needs to be there. At the end of the day, whether she existed or not, we know that for sure, because all sources agree that Jace and Cragen create the Pact of Ice and Fire, right?
Yeah.
And that sounds so romantic. Like that's so unnecessarily romantic. Like why would you call it that? But again, like I'm not gonna say anything. But other character who might
Well,
possibly
I think that Sabitha Frey is interesting because she's afraid we all like hate phrase in
yes,
A Song of Ice and Fire, and creating a very interesting, very compelling Frey character that is a female, that she's a warrior, that she's queer, would be like totally breaking your mind from the characters we have seen in Game of Thrones. I think that
yes,
I am sure that the show will respect her and will make her like very very lovely for the audience. And I think that's one of the good things that the show can do. That like showing us that the houses have been existing in Westeros for millennia in some times, but the Arryns of our age are not the Arryns of that age. The Freys of our age are not the Freys of that age, etc., etc., etc. And that's Sabitha Frey for me. That's a great character because Freys aren't evil. Walder Frey is evil, but not all the Freys in the past have been evil, and
yes,
not all the Starks have been honorable and gentle like Ned Stark. Ned Stark is maybe the exception. Most of the Starks are not like Ned Stark.
yes, yes. Kudos to that. That's something that a lot of people need to remember. A lot of people just see houses and every person in that house is one block of stone, right? But no, they're people. George is very good at writing people. So yeah, Sabitha Frey is such an interesting character. Not only she is good in battle, like physically at, you know, she's a good warrior, she's also a good ruler. She's smart. She and Ali devised that whole plan to repopulate the the Riverlands, because they know that winter is coming up north. So a lot of men, there's no point in going back up north because they're going to starve. So the men from the north who survive the battles, they just stay in the south in the Riverlands, and they just marry all the widows and because all the men in the Riverlands have basically died. So they even come up with integration, and they literally make people not make them, but they encourage the Northmen to stay in the south, marry there. So they also bring like cultural integration and all that, which is wonderful.
Yes.
That's so smart. Like, why didn't, I don't know, other houses think about that? No, they did.
No.
Again, representative of their relationship. They make their people marry.
Yes. Yeah, and I think what Sabitha Frey was doing later, we won't show it in House of Dragon, but what she was promoting in Aegon the Third Kingdom, like trying to give more rights to the woman in the Riverlands. Like, I think that following the steps of Queen Alysanne, that was doing all so good stuff to promote the woman rights in Westeros, like creating those like only woman councils, that kind of stuff that helps them to like talk with freedom and don't be afraid of who may be hearing their stuff about their husbands or their family. I think that's very nice, and Sabitha tries to do that. That's makes her a very compelling character. They can make her in the show to say sentence like that I have these ideas, these modern ideas of defending women, and people will say, "Oh, the show is making woke agenda, is creating artificial diversity." No, that is in the book. That is not the invention of the show. That's totally canon. That women in this world have that kind of ideas to defend the rights of other women. That's very. I think that's very interesting, and that's why I really want so much for Sabitha Frey to be a character and not just a character with one line, but a real character. Of course, a secondary character, but a character in the show.
Yes, absolutely. And again, I mean, they have so many chances with other characters who they can show as queer, and obviously, it's not all about sex, right? It doesn't mean that we have to see people having sex.
No,
somebody can just say a line. There's a sentence there that's for example, one person who could very well be like, if they have to pick somebody and like have them say something or maybe show us somebody kissing somebody, it could be Baela.
Yes. That's interesting. Baela and Rhaenyra are two very interesting characters. Yeah.
Because in the book, if I'm not mistaken, Baela is the more boyish one. Like, she cuts her hair short and she really follows in the footsteps of Daemon. And obviously it doesn't mean anything that she has long hair in the show. That's perfectly fine. Also, she's beautiful, Bethany Antonia. Oh, but like, if they want to show us that she is free spirited and rebellious, what better way would there be than to have us show her in her room like kissing a servant or whatever? I don't, it could be whatever.
They could. I think they could make a bit like a Jack. Well, I think that Jacaerys already has left. He has already left in the show to Winterfell. If not, because they couldn't make a scene of both together, and then a scene of for Jacaerys with the little girl Snow in the north. I think that's canon. At the same time, her with some maid or with other people in Dragonstone. I think they could. I don't know. To be honest, I think they will make her loyal, and they will make him unloyal. I think that's my 2 cents. So we'll that's my 2 cents. But I of course don't know about that.
It could be. I mean, the whole reason why I think this would make sense for Baela is that also at some point, I mean, at the beginning of season 2, they have to sort of differentiate the twins, right? They have to say, she does this and she does this. She is like this and she is different from her.
I think in the first season they did a good job with that. With the scene of Rhaenyra with the egg and that scene.
Yes, when they were little, right? But now they're grown up, and we have to learn to tell them apart.
Yes.
And obviously they are older now, and they are bigger characters, so they have more space, and they have to each of them has to have, you know, her own personality. Could also they've grown up apart, right? One
Yes.
grew up with Rhaenys and one with
Yes.
Rhaenyra.
I am very confident about that, because in one of the interviews Ryan Condal has said, he said that this season is about the children, that were a bit smaller in the beginning of previous season, and we just saw them like two episodes, like being older, being adults in that world. They're adults now,
Yeah,
and
they're adults.
and they say that this season will be the story of those children, and they have to do that because Jaehaerys and won't. Well, we won't spoil too much, but some of them won't have a very long life. So if they want to invest in those characters, they have to invest it now. So
Yes.
so it makes sense for Jaehaerys, from Baela and Rhaenyra to have a good arc in this season, to make them more screen time. They have to fill 8 episodes of TV, and there is stuff that is happening, but it also to make scenes to develop the characters. So I think that's fine. And
Yeah.
we haven't talked about the leader of a house that is a queer character. That is Jeyne Arryn, and we are going to see her next season, because George Martin confirmed that we were going to see the Veil this season. Jake has to stop there. Jake has to stop in the Veil before going to Winterfell. It's canon, and John confirmed that. So Jaehaerys Targaryen is going to meet Jeyne Arryn. So we'll have a queer character in the show in the second season. Yeah.
Exactly. And I love Jeyne. I love what she says about how she obviously she doesn't like Daemon, right? Because Daemon didn't treat Rhea Royce very, very well. And I think Rhea and Jeyne might have also been cousins. I don't know. But you know, she says to Jay, so she says something along the lines of despite your mother's taste in consorts, she is a woman and mine on queen, and it's my duty to support her.
Yes.
Feminist queen.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, the Aryans at that time are shown to be very progressive towards women's rights. Also during the conquest. What's the name of the lady Arryn who is there? And I think she has a small son, right? And they bow to Rhaenys, I think.
I don't remember that.
Or Visenya. But I mean, it's a very lovely scene there too, and yeah.
Yes, but I think that nobody can doubt that Jane is a queer character. They say that when she's dying, is the unmarried maid of the Vale pass away in the arms of her dear companion, Jessamine Redford.
Yes.
Dear so that's nobody can deny that, and she's the leader of a house. She's the leader of a house, and she's a very important figure. The troops from the Vale are key in the last stages of the Dance of the Dragons. So, and she will be also a very, 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 very important character when the dance ends for the reconstruction of the realm. That I love that chapter, a small chapter in Fire and Blood, talking about how women, the widows of some fallen warriors, saved the kingdom after the end, the technical ending of Dance of the Dragons.
Yes.
Those were the guys that saved the kingdom, and then the book starts doing a list of all those women.
Yes.
Sabitha Frey, one of them, Jeyne Arryn is one of them, and we have Joanna Lannister in the West.
Yeah, Sam Tarly, Samantha Tarly, and Johanna Lannister.
Yes.
There's so many, and I love that there's like within Fire and Blood, there's a book that's called "Women Who Ruled, Ladies of the Aftermath."
Yes,
I love that. I love that.
Yeah. I love that, and Jeyne Arryn is a key part of that. Maybe some of those girls that we don't know so much about them, maybe queer. We don't know that. Feel free to imagine. Feel free to fanfic. Write something in AAA03. You are free to write that there. So I'm sure there will be some fanfic that you never imagine about some of those characters, but it's totally canon that Jeyne Arryn is queer, and we will see her in the show. And I don't know if I forgot any of the main big characters that are queer in the Dance of the Dragons.
I mean, the only people we didn't mention are obvious, like Laenor's lovers, but
Yeah.
they're kind of key to his character. So
Yeah.
Joffrey Lonmouth and
And
Paul.
they are more or less one-dimensional characters. They
Yeah, I mean, they don't really have a lot of screen time.
love or love and betray Laenor. They have not a big personality.
Yes, they're very instrumental to his character. We don't really get a lot about them, except the fact that Laenor and Joffrey must have loved each other very deeply, because even 10 years later, Laenor is still trying to call his son Joffrey.
Yes,
so,
yes.
that must have been lovely.
Yeah, but I think we we having 1 hour talking. I think we did a very good, like very complete and exhaustive list of LGTB characters in Dance of the Dragons. I think we talk most about females, but we talk a lot about Laenor, that is maybe the biggest LGTB character in the show in the beginning we were talking about. And I just wanted to ask you, non-Dance of the Dragons character, you have read Fire and Blood recently. What is one character, LGTB character, that you want to talk about? My favorite, of course, is Elisa Farman. Elisa Farman is maybe one of maybe my favorite character in the fall the World of Ice and Fire, because I love maps, as you can see here and here and here, and in front of me I have 2 maps. I totally love maps, and Elisa Farman is the map. He's the cartographist. She's the one who navigates around the world. I absolutely love that idea of, let's see what's in the margin of the map. Let's see what's in the unseen lands, in the unexplored lands. I will always treasure that feeling that when you discover something that you don't know, that it's one step far that what you have never traveled, as Sam says to Frodo. And so I love Elisa Farman, but you can talk about any other LGBT character in Fire and Blood that you love.
Okay, in Fire and Blood.
Or just the Wall of Ice and Fire.
Okay,
A Song of Ice. Any LGBT character that you like and is not present in Dance of the Dragons.
Okay, I'm gonna take that. So Elisa Farman,
yes,
when she goes off to explore, she does something that is very important and very pivotal to the history of Westeros. She steals 3 dragon eggs.
Yeah.
Those dragon eggs are 99% the dragon eggs that Daenerys hatches. So I want to talk about Daenerys.
Okay.
I'm sorry, you just gave it to me in a silver platter.
Yeah.
I know that for some people this is controversial, very controversial, but Daenerys is queer.
No. For me, it's not controversial. She has that scene.
I know it's not controversial.
She has that scene with theory, but that scene with theory, for me, it's not a healthy relationship at all. There is a power abuse there. Daenerys is a very complex character. It's not a white character at all. And in that scene can be read, the writing of that scene is a bit, feels like written by an old and a bit maybe creepy old guy, maybe writing a bit of his fantasies. And that scene is... Daenerys isn't exactly comfortable on that scene, but that scene shows that Daenerys at least is interested, sexually interested, at least interested in women.
Yes. Also, I don't think it's only sexual. Like, I do think it's also romantic. With Doria in the book, when Doria is ill, Daenerys halts the Thraki horde just so that she can literally hold Doria's hand as she dies. How romantic is that? I mean, yeah, you can say she was her friend, but you know. And with Aerie, again, like as you said, that scene.
Well, we know that Doria was intimate close to her. She was the one who was helping her. She's a, what's the name? A pillow slave, I think is the term.
Yes.
A pillow slave, and she was hired just to train her in the marital art. So they were like.
So they literally had sex.
They had sex. Later they had sex before. So
exactly.
Yeah.
And Dany felt very close to her. It was an emotional bond.
Yeah.
And with Aerie as well, as you said, it's a very complex scene. There's lots of layer to unpack because yes, Aerie is her slave. I mean, she's not a slave; she's her servant, right? She's not a slave; she's a servant. So there is a power dynamic there, but it's literally Aerie wants to do it. Like that's, you can see that, of course, she has no agency in the sense that Dany is her Khaleesi, right? So yes, but Eerie is there and she wants to do it, and I think she also does it a bunch more times. Like
to be honest, I don't have as clear that scene, but you said that Eerie is interested in that, but because she wants that, or she just wants to make her queen happier?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. Of course, her life goal is to make her queen happy, right?
Yeah.
But she doesn't. She's not against it, because I seem to remember that Dany, at the beginning, she's like, whoa, no, like you don't have to do this. Dany says like, you don't have to do this, and Eerie's like, let me. And obviously, I mean, it's implied that this is something that keeps happening. And so if they both allow it to happen, I don't think that they have such a romantic bond, but
she was just a bit warmer, I would say.
Yeah. And Dany is lonely.
Yeah.
But so in the show, for all its faults,
and there are no satisfiers in Westeros.
No. But remember in season 1, that scene where Dany and Doria were getting it on?
Yes. Like, that's why I was so surprised that in the show, that especially the first season of Game of Thrones were so visual and sometimes even disgusting considering sex scenes. I was so shocked that they didn't show that Eerie and Daenerys scene.
Well, but I think with Doria, there was that whole moment there where she was showing her what to do, and Dany, Emilia Clarke did such an amazing job there. When doesn't she? But she did such an amazing job. She was her face, she was like, oh my God, I want this.
Yes.
But yeah, and then they did that whole little flirting thing in season 6, 7, I don't remember, with Yara.
With Yara, yeah, totally.
I was like, okay.
I like that. I really like that a lot, and because I think that Yara changing the show doesn't alter the dynamic of his character. I have problems because I like the character of Yara in the book being, let me say that, very, very straight in the books, but at the same time a very warrior girl. I like that. I like warrior girls being totally heterosexual. I think that should be also a trope, because all the warrior girls have to be lesbians. No. Let warrior girls be straight too, please.
I mean,
but so yeah. So, but and of course the opposite. And I like that's why I didn't like at all considering the character in the books. But the character in the show is not the character in the books, and we didn't have lesbians.
He literally has a different name.
So just let her be happy for a while.
Yeah, and then another character in the book that I do think is bisexual, and there too, it's not really shown because she really, really loves men as well, is Arianne Martell. She's one of my favorite characters ever.
I love Arianne.
I adore her.
She has her cousins. She has her cousins that are, you said Arianne. I would say Nymeria Sant. Nymeria Sant is canonically queer.
Listen. The Martells are literally all gay.
In Dorne, they are all queer.
Exactly. They're all fluid. They're. It would be strange if a Dornish person was straight.
Obara is totally breaking the genre norms in Westeros, and as I said, Lady Nim was with her cousins sharing the bed when her father died, and Tien is the only. We don't know. To be honest, I have said that in some videos, and people didn't like that, but. Sand snakes are very one-dimensional characters, to be honest. So we don't know a lot about Tien, but she could totally be queer too, and nobody would.
Yeah,
as you said, the weird thing would be that she wouldn't be queer. We
haven't seen a lot about the sand snakes, and I'm looking forward to seeing them in the next book. I love them. I love Dorne. I mean, Oberyn was one of my favorite characters ever, not just in this universe, but ever. And he was.
I have to say, talking about I did that with a video, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, with Pablo, with a guy a friend of mine who was doing a podcast in the past with him, and I recorded Pablo, and we did talk about especially about male gay characters in the show, and we both agree, and we always said that we didn't like how bisexuality was shown in the show by Oberyn. It was like too visual, and they had all the time to remember the audience. Hi, I'm bisexual. Hi, I'm bisexual. Hi, I'm a man who likes man all the time. As
You know
not
what
that,
they did?
that's not
You
a
know,
good representation.
you know what they did? They made it exotic. They were like,
Yeah.
oh, the exotic people are
Mm.
like strange, so they're gay. It
No,
was a little weird. It was a little off. I
for
agree
me,
with
that's
you.
not the problem. That people from Dorne are weird because there is a lot of racism in the rest of Westeros against Dorne,
Mhm.
and they dress in a different way. They
Mhm.
behave in a different way. I don't, and I love Pedro Pascal as Oberyn Martell. For me, the problem is that what they were doing him, they were giving him bad dialogue, considering just his sexual stuff. He was doing, he got the amazing lines with Elaria, with Tyrion, but when he was in the brothel, he can be in the brothel, of course, sharing one sometime with his I don't know girlfriend. She's not his wife.
Paramour, yes, Paramour.
Yeah, her paramour. Yeah. Sometimes with a boy, and I like that the scene, but you don't have to like every time he was on screen, he was like with some flags. I'm bisexual. You don't have. That's not a
Yeah.
good representation.
Yeah.
So anything else? We have been talking for more than an hour. Is there anything else you want to say, or just we close this video and be return to our boring life?
No, I mean, I just think people should be more open-minded, right? When it comes to character sexuality. At the end of the day,
People should be more open-minded in everything.
yeah. But also, like, it's so interesting when people are so offended when we point out that a character might be gay. And I'm like, dude, these are fictional characters. They don't exist. It's
Yeah.
different when we're talking about real people. Absolutely. But these people, like, I'm sorry to say, they don't exist. They're fictional. They belong on the page of the book. We can make with them what we want, right? So if I want to read queerness into them, and I mean, especially when it's literally there for most of these characters, we've seen that, you just need to use your brain and, and have some critical thinking and read beyond the words on the page and just, see some symbolism there. It's just so interesting when people are so offended by, this, what we've been doing. So I just wish people were more open-minded. Yeah, it's fun, right? I mean, again, like at the end of the day, this is it's, all these works are bound to also become transformative works. We, as you said, death of the author. We take what is on the page and we imagine, something more. And it doesn't necessarily contradict what's there. It just embellishes it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Your lecture is perfect. I totally agree. But I would just say that I hope that would happen just when people is shipping characters in a fiction. Our regular life, our regular world is crowded with homophobic, totally crowded. It's so disgusting, and you still can hear comments that are so nasty. And in your job, in the public transportation, even from people that are your friends or are close to you, sometimes they say, I am very lucky to not suffer that, but I know testimony of people who suffer that. So our society is very homophobic, and that's why, to be honest, I do this kind of videos. This video won't have a lot of views. This video won't give me a lot of visits. I won't earn money with this video, but I do it because I think it's our role as communicators, Federica and me, to say gay characters exist in fiction because there's a lot of LGTB people in the real world, a lot of people. And maybe you don't see them because you don't want to see them, but they are there, they are part of your life, and they have the same exact right of loving the people that they love that not LGTB have. So respect them, appreciate that, and try to make the world a bit good for everyone. I get very passionate about that but for me, every June, I have the same conversation. Why do you do these videos? Because I want. And I think that we should put our small grain to make the world a bit better. And that's our small way of doing that.
Yes, that is so sweet. Everything you just said and everything you do all the time. I mean, at the end of the day, showing representation, right? It should help normalize, not that, this, not that gay people need to be normalized, but it really, really helps. So
No,
thank you
I
so much
agree.
for doing
Other
this.
YouTubers don't do this stuff. Other websites don't do this stuff. I
They
don't care.
should.
I do this because I am very lucky to not live thanks to YouTube. And if I would live thanks to YouTube, I would do the same. We have our role. Federica has a lot of followers on social media, more than me. I have my website. I have my YouTube channel. The only thing we could do to make the world a bit fair for everyone is to say, hey, hello, representation is important, because there is still a lot of discrimination in our world. So if you are watching this video, please also try to do the world a bit better for the people that even don't think like you, but they are real people too and deserve to love the people that they want.
Thank you. That is wonderful.
That's what I say. So, well, we could just say goodbye. Do you want to say goodbye, or we just close this?
Yes, I
Video?
mean, thank you so much for having me, and I hope people enjoy, the video and the discussion, and I would love to know what people think about what we said. So make sure to comment. Even if you don't agree, that's fine, as long as you're respectful. So yeah, thank you so much, Javi, for having me and for doing all this. You are amazing, and you do so much work, so much of this behind the scenes. You are incredible. You are an amazing human being and an amazing professional. And I love hanging out with you. And I hope we get to do this more often.
You are a good friend, Federica, and that's a true friend, and that's the best thing I could say to anyone. So, okay, goodbye. See you next week.
Bye
Bye
from
bye.
the queens, Danny and Rhaenyra.
Bye bye. We start.